Welcome to raigurukul.com. In this video, we'll discuss about API testing. Whenever we are doing any testing, API is a very important part which is application programming interface where we have to test based on the business layer where there are different types of API testing will needs to perform. So we'll see here what is API testing, where are API testing performed, benefits of API testing types, API testing tools, test cases of API testing, and which all challenges we have while performing API testing. If you don't know about software testing, please watch my complete playlist of software testing where I've already added more than 40 videos where you will know basics to advanced level knowledge of software testing. I will also include the URL in description tab. If you're visiting this channel first time, don't forget to subscribe the channel. Now let's jump into the API testing. First of all, what is API testing? It is an acronym of Application Programming Interface. In software applications development, API is the middle layer between the presentations, which is an UI, and the database layer. This layer is called as business layer. API enables communications and data exchange from one software system to another, and normally this API testing will be done on REST, that is JSON, or SOAP, that is XML format. API testing is a software testing practice that tests the API directly from their functionality, reliability, performance to security. Part of integration testing, API testing effectively validates the logic of build architecture within a short amount of time. API testing helps us to know about the complete functionality in terms of unit or coding logic. Where is the API testing performed? As I said, API testing performed on the business layer in between the presentation layer and the business layer and the database layer for the modeling and manipulating data. API testing is performed at the most critical layer, business, in which business logic processing is carried out and all the transactions between the user interface and database layers happens. Generally, API testing have all the transactions detailed where most of the critical organization wants to validate these transactions thoroughly. Benefits of API testing. Data is exchanged via XML and JSON format, as I said. So normally this testing will be done on XML and JSON format, which is typically structured data, making the verification fast and stable. This is called as language independent. Generally in XML format, we are verifying the complete transaction structure in request and response method. Both are part of HTTP method, and here we are verifying in XML and JSON both the formats. Generally we have one request and one response. Request is having limited annotations, but in response we might get anything based on the defined format. Next is GUI independent. API testing can be performed in the app prior to GUI testing. Early testing means early feedback and better team productivity. If we found any defect in the latter stages, the fixing of that defect generally costs 10 times as compared to the early phases. So that's why API testing is performed in early phases before GUI testing, and this is a very important part. If we will miss something in terms of transactions or transformations, generally this will eat lots of time to fix this. Next is improve test coverage. Most API or web services have specifications allowing us to create automated tests with high coverage, including functional testing and non-functional testing. And this is the faster releases. It is common that executing API testing saves up to 8 hours compared to UI testing, allowing software development teams to release products faster. Now, which all types of API testings we have? First is validations testing. It verifies the aspects of products, behavior and their efficiency. In other words, validation testing can be seen as an assurance of correct development. Generally here we are verifying the complete request and response method. If let's say we have 5 tags defined in the process of building the development cycle in request method, but development team has identified the additional steps, then that needs to be incorporated and require approvals. Next is functional testing. These features are the representation of specific scenarios to make sure the API functions are handled well within the planned parameter. UI testing focuses more on the interface which ties into the API rather than API testing itself. Although UI testing is not a specific test of API in terms of code base. Generally, security testing is a very important part, which includes additional steps such as validation of encryption methodologies and of the design of API access control. Then authentication and authorization plays a very important role. The person who are authorized, that person only have the access of required data. If that person is not authorized, then definitely he or she won't be able to get a response correctly. Now, runtime and error detections. This testing type is related to the actual running of API, particularly within the universal results of utilizing the API code base. This technique focuses on monitoring resources leak, etc. Load testing. This technique checks if the theoretical solutions works as planned. Load testing monitors the app's performance at both normal and peak conditions. Next is penetration testing. In this type, user with limited API knowledge will try to access threat vector from an outside perspective, which is about function resources, processes, or into the entire API and its components. Fudge testing. In fudge testing, a vast amount of random data referred to as a noise or fudge will be input into the system to detect any forced crashes or negative behaviors. Now, which all tools we have for performing the API testing? Generally, there are lots of tools are available for doing API testing, but right now I am listing few of them. So first is SOAP UI. This tool focuses on testing API functionality in SOAP and REST APIs and web services. This is open source tool where people can download and start using. This is a very user friendly environment where we can perform API testing. Next is Apache JMeter. This is again open source tool for load and functional API testing. Apigee is a cloud API testing tool from Google that focuses on API performance testing. Rest Assured is an online approach in open source Java specific language that facilitates and eases the testing of REST APIs. Swagger UI is an open source tool that creates a web page that documents API use. Postman is a very important tool created by Google Chrome app used for verifying and automating API testing. Catalan is an again open source application that helps us with the UI automated testing. Now let's discuss something about test cases of API. Generally, we cannot cover each and everything about test cases of API based, but I'm here highlighting the important ones, that is return value based on input conditions. Now, generally this is This we are verifying into the response, and it's relatively easy to test because an input can be defined and result can be authenticated. Next is that does not return anything. It means that API is throwing an error or the behavior we have to verify it. Trigger some other API or event interrupt. If an output of API triggers some event or interrupt, then those events and interrupt listeners should be tracked. Update data structure. Updating data structures will have some outcome or effect on the system, and that should be authenticated. Generally, for this we are using post method. Modifying certain resources. If API call modifies some resources, then it should be validated by accessing respective resources. Now, how and what will be approach of API testing? API testing approach is predefined strategy or method that the QA team will perform in order to conduct the API testing after the build is ready. This testing does not include the source code. The API testing approach helps to better understand the functionality, testing techniques, input parameters, and the execution of test cases. So, initially, we have to first analyze the functionality of API program, how that is working, which all parameters we have, and these parameters are totally depending on the business requirement or not. Then we have to apply testing techniques such as equivalence classes, boundary analysis, and error guessing, and write test cases for these API. The test cases which we are covering, that should cover end to end, and there should not have any loopholes. So basically that means that should cover everything about API. Next is input parameters or test data, which is again a very important part. We should have variation of test data so that we can verify each and everything about API. Then executing the test cases and compare expected and actual results. So which all challenges we have in API testing? The main challenges in web API testing is parameter combinations, parameter selections, and call sequencing. Generally, in API testing, we don't have a UI. Sometimes we might confuse in terms of getting response or not. So testing these type of application makes difficult to give input values. Validating and verifying the output in different systems is little bit difficult for testers. Parameter selections and categorizations require to be known to the tester. Exception handling needs to be tested, and coding knowledge is necessary for the tester to do API testing. So that's all from this. Hope you enjoyed this session. If you think so this will be useful, don't forget to share within your circle. And most important part, if you think so we should cover more content on API testing, please add in the comment section. Thank you for watching.